Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. My name is AES and welcome to my YouTube channel. One of the biggest Sony franchises in my opinion is Uncharted. It appeals to fans of the action genre that seek huge set pieces and, goodness gracious, it delivers on the promise, especially after the first Uncharted. It also appeals to folks who do not normally play video games, but they are entertained by the charismatic cast of characters and the Indiana Jones style of narrative. Since Nathan Drake's story is over, or at least I hope it is finished, today will be a good time than any to rank every Uncharted title from worst to best. Each title's placement is based on my personal enjoyment of the game, as well as its technical aspects. As always, keep in mind that this ranking is entirely subjective, and if our lists do not match, post yours in the comment section and we will discuss our picks. What is my favorite Uncharted game? Which is my least favorite? Time to find out. Without further ado, let us rank every Uncharted video game from worst to best. Number 8, Uncharted Fortune Hunter, for the mobile from 2016. The last two entries on this list are at their appropriate spots because they do not play like a traditional Uncharted game. Whereas the series is known for its third-person shooting mechanics and enthralling plots, Uncharted Fortune Hunter for Android and iOS devices is a puzzle title, where you move Nathan down a grid, hit a few switches, and continue on with your day. The mine-based obstacles can be more complicated than the puzzles in the mainline series, but it is exceedingly difficult to enjoy a game if it deviates ever so much from a certain formula. It is the same reason why Hitman Go is most likely my least favorite title in the Hitman franchise. The sound design is alright and Nathan looks half decent, but I could not find much to really like about Uncharted Fortune Hunter, which is why it is at the bottom of the list. Number 7, Uncharted-Fight for Fortune, for the PlayStation Vita from 2012. The other non-traditional Uncharted game is alright, but again, it strays away from the expected genre. Uncharted-Fight for Fortune is a card-based game in a similar fashion as Hearthstone or Magic the Gathering. The number of cards is fantastic, and there is plenty of nostalgic throwbacks to previous titles in the franchise due to the cards' designs. The game's rules are also not overly complicated, so anyone and everyone can pick up and play the Vita exclusive game. Nevertheless, there is hardly the same feeling of attachment that I had with the core picks as I did with Uncharted-Fight for Fortune. It is particularly disappointing since there is a traditional Uncharted game for the Vita. I'm not exactly sure why the developers went in the route of a title in the card-based genre instead of incorporating moments where you shoot foes and perform platforming tricks. Number 6, Uncharted Drake's Fortune, for the PlayStation 3 from 2007. It may be my least favorite title in the mainline franchise, but Uncharted Drake's Fortune sets the building blocks for one of my favorite action games of all time. Introducing us to Nathan Drake, Sully, and Elena, you are tasked with venturing deep into the forest to find a treasure, akin to numerous movies you may have heard or seen in the past, such as The Road to El Dorado. However, what distinguishes Uncharted from those films is something that I already mentioned at the beginning of this video: the memorable ensemble of main characters. Every single one of them is memorable and makes an impact on the lore as it advances to its conclusion. The visuals and soundtrack are also very good for an introductory PlayStation 3 title, and the combat is enjoyable, even though it can be exploitable as well with the cover system. The story itself is not very original and the final boss is ridiculously easy, but I respect Uncharted Drake's Fortune for starting one of Sony's most successful and popular franchises. Number 5. Uncharted Golden Abyss for the PlayStation Vita from 2011. If you play the console Uncharted titles and you give Uncharted Golden Abyss a try, you would be hard-pressed to find any core differences. The gameplay is the same, with the inclusion of touch-based prompts and a cool puzzle mechanic that utilizes actual light for the solution. Those gimmicky gameplay features are not really what places this game higher than Drake's Fortune. The aspect that elevated Golden Abyss to the number 5 spot is the antagonist. He's filled with cliches, but he's at least not as forgettable as the antagonist of the original Uncharted game. Unless you love the series, I cannot imagine that you can name both antagonists in Drake's Fortune. Uncharted Golden Abyss is one of the PlayStation Vita's best title and a good entry in this franchise. Number 4. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception for the PlayStation 3 from 2011. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception is the most polarizing game in the franchise for me. On one hand, I love the visuals, the soundtrack, and the set pieces, one of which is the best action sequences in the entire series. The references to the first meeting between Nathan and Sully are also noteworthy highlights. On the other hand, I was not a big fan of the backtracking of a certain moment in the story. It was emotionally effective when it happened, but then the writers reversed their decision to make the moment permanent. The final fight is also a tad too reminiscent of the first game, and you already know that I do not like it at all. Uncharted 3 Drake's Deception could have been the best in the trilogy had it not been for the hindrances that plagued Nathan's third quest to mark his legacy in history. Number 3. Uncharted Lost Legacy for the PlayStation 4 from 2017. The side story of the franchise, Uncharted Lost Legacy nicely tells us about Chloe's whereabouts after Uncharted 2 Among Thieves. She is accompanied by Nadine, a character from one of the next entries on this list. At its fundamental state, Lost Legacy is extremely similar to A Thief's End. The large semi-open world environments, the platforming techniques, and the general quality of presentation are essentially identical. Nonetheless, Uncharted Lost Legacy is a joy to play. Some folks do not particularly like it due to a certain political agenda, but I will play it very soon and have fun with it. It is one of the only titles that I have not officially reviewed from my Twitter account as of the recording of this video. Number 2. Uncharted 4 A Thief's End for the PlayStation 4 from 2016. While another game is the best in the series, Uncharted 4 A Thief's End is my personal favorite. It unquestionably has the best story, with Drake and his brother Sam attempting to find personal and emotional redemption. The environments are still breathtaking, although the Madagascar level is a tad too big for its own good. The music is superb, the gameplay is top-notch, the multiplayer is a lot of fun, and it is active to this day. There's one moment that made me rage while I played on the hardest difficulty, but it did not take anything away from an extraordinary video game. Uncharted 4 Thief's End and the next entry continuously go back and forth with their placements, but I thought about it and decided to put another game on the top of my Uncharted list. Number 1. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves for the PlayStation 3 from 2009. The transition from Uncharted Drake's Fortune to Uncharted 2 Among Thieves is stellar. Everything has improved over its predecessor. You actually start the game with a set piece on a train. The facial animations are noticeably better. The environments, while repetitive at times, look fantastic. The introduction of a multiplayer component put the series on the map of awesome online titles. The story is more engaging with a focus on Nathan and Elena after the first half of the tale. The antagonist is still silly, but the last bout is much more tense than any other fight in the trilogy and, quite frankly, the series as a whole. I always have a slight bias towards games that substantially improve over their earlier entries. Uncharted 2 Among Thieves did not only pass the test with flying colors, but cemented its place as the best Uncharted title. At least until tomorrow. Uncharted 4 may take its spot then. Well folks, that's the end of the video. Thank you very much for checking it out. Which Uncharted game is your favorite? Which is your least favorite? Please let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. Till next time, have a great day or evening wherever you are. My name is AES, and I will see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.